than anything, I'm kind of shocked that it was announced because they have been, I think, for astute
Mm.
observers living apart for quite a while. I mean, when she got COVID, at the beginning of COVID, like before
Right.
COVID was a thing, she brought it home from London and he never contracted it from her because I think they were already kind of apart then.
Yeah.
And then when he got COVID multiple times, she never got it from him because they're not in the same household. Like you live with your family, obviously, and I live
Mhm.
with mine. And if somebody gets something, it just sort of rips through the house and it's done.
Oh
Like
yeah.
nobody makes that
When
out
we
unscathed.
yeah, when we caught COVID, it went through each one of us. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And
that you're right. I'm glad you went back there because I wasn't even thinking about that, but you're right. That was pretty fishy.
yeah, and they've been living apart the whole time. Um, and she's really been out of the public eye the whole time.
Yes.
Um, she hasn't been around. Like Mrs. Harper, we saw her all the time. Um,
Hmm.
Pierre Poilievre's wife, she's out front and center. I think she's actually his secret weapon. She really makes
Yeah.
him like normal. You're like, oh, how did that nerd get that hot chick who seems so nice and normal? Uh, there's
And
hope for
smart. She's
everybody.
very smart herself.
Yeah, like smart, nice mom, and you're like, oh, I guess there's hope for all of us if he can land a chick like that. But I never thought that since they've been living apart for so long that it would be announced while he's sitting as the prime minister that they were separating,
Mhm.
which leads me to speculate, and I hate this, I hate it,
Yeah.
leads me to speculate that something precipitated the necessity
Mhm.
to make an announcement. And I wonder if he got winged in the forehead with a candlestick the day before, and there's like some kind of police report that,
I know.
like since they've been living apart and she hasn't really been in the public eye, I don't really think there was a reason to talk about this, but there is, and
Yeah.
I just don't know what it is.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. It definitely, there's a lot to speculate there from anything from a high heel to the head. But the timing, it just seems like it couldn't be worse of a timing because not only is he still in office, he's certainly getting ready to be on the campaign trail for the next election. And I think, he'd be a fool not to realize that the leader of the opposition is, in fact, a threat. So it does seem like there was some sort of catalyst to say, nope, this happens now. It could be, something crazy, or it could be as simple as, one of them wanting to move on. Who knows? But it does seem like a bad timing. And you mentioned sort of the unity we see, at least on camera, between Pierre Poilievre and Anita. And it seems like, again, that secret weapon of Pierre's wife is going to go a long way, maybe. I was asking people on Twitter whether or not they thought the divorce would hinder or harm Trudeau in the next election, and quite a few people thought it would work as a sympathy vote.
I don't know. I always thought like during COVID he did look like a thrice divorced, or at least on
Yeah,
his third divorce,
yeah,
uh university professor who was sleeping in the family Volvo
yeah,
at points there when he
yeah.
would like shuffle out and do his press conference. And I'm like, holy God,
What?
not even this. There were times where he looked much
Yeah,
worse. His hair was a little bit longer, maybe because the hairdressers were closed and he didn't want to sneak a haircut because everybody would notice. And his beard
yeah.
was a little bit longer. And I was like, God, you've been
What's
sleeping on the
going
couch,
on?
buddy.
Sometimes he
Like it just
sometimes he looked like a different person too. Like even his weight seemed to like fluctuate drastically during
his
those days.
face his face would get puffy like a man who is on a bit
Yeah.
of a bender. Yeah.
Oh man,
No,
who knows? But I know what you mean
I
about being ethically torn because there's been a lot of jokes out there, and I'm like, oh,
I
I
don't wanna
see
make
the
them.
humor. I see the humor, but I've refrained, because there are kids involved, and that's never,
That's the thing.
a good thing for them. But yeah, there's a lot out there being said. Some are speculating he
Well,
might come out as part of the LGBTQ plus community now. That could have been a driving force. You never know.
you know, he would. He is that cynical, right? Like he absolutely is that cynical. Um Joe Warmington's got an interesting take on this. Our friend Joe Warmington, one of the last normals over at the Toronto Sun, he writes, sorry, but the Prime Minister's personal life is not a private matter. It's a public matter. He says nothing should be off limits, even as some of my colleagues have written. They have always been a public couple. That's true. Featured amongst world leaders and on magazine covers, and what made them news then does not change now. This is the reality of public life. If Prime Minister Justin Trudeau wants to see the privacy of he and his wife of 18 years, Sophie Gregoire, is respected, the best template to follow is the one set by former Mayor John Tory, who earlier this year stepped from the chief magistrate's job upon word he had been involved in an intimate relationship with a much younger female staff member. After taking a week to clean up some files, Tory exited public life to work things out with his family, and as a result, the media and public left him alone. That's a great point. If the Prime Minister wants that same courtesy, his best move would be to resign from his position and deal with the matter out of public view. You know what? Yeah. You know what? He wants us to be concerned about his kids. I am concerned about his kids. That's why I'm trying to keep all my jokey jokes to myself, because they are going to get old enough to read them one day. And some of them are old. A couple of his kids are old enough to read them, and it is difficult when your parents are doing things in the public eye and you're just like trying to be a normal kid, and you're already burdened with the fact that Sophie Gregoire Trudeau and Justin Trudeau are your parents. That's got to be hard. But yeah, I mean, if this is the worst thing his kids are going to go through, and again, that's why I'm keeping my jokey jokes to myself. It's the worst thing to happen to a kid, outside of like a death of an immediate family member. And so maybe he does need to resign, and so that he can focus on his kids. And I don't think anyone would fault him for that. I would actually respect that if he said, you know what? Yes, this is a horrific thing. This is awful, and my kids need us, and so I'm just going to step back. It's not like he needs the money, by the way. I understand why other people take their jobs and go through a divorce. If you're going through a divorce, you definitely need your job. You got bills to pay for. But he's independently wealthy on his own. His dad left him a bunch of money. He comes from a wealthy family. He's a moneyed family, a Laurentian family. You don't need to be the Prime Minister. Go deal with your kids.
Yeah, it's definitely a bureaucrat. And some are theorizing that maybe that is why we're hearing about the separation that seems to be old news now, is that perhaps they don't want him the face of the party. So why not make this announcement and make that part of the reason why you have to step down? Who knows? Only time will tell. Let us know in the comments what you guys think. What's your theory behind this? Because it is interesting that they wouldn't just hang on to it, keep it in their pockets for a little longer.
I don't know if you watched my monologue I filled in for Ezra last night, but I had proof of, like, actual proof instead of just my she's at Harrington Lake and he's at Rideau Cottage looking like he's been sleeping on the couch. I had proof that they had literally not been traveling together for important events, sitting on my desk for 4 weeks, and I just didn't understand the context in which I had this information. I just thought it was general liberals burning through taxpayer dollars and not respecting who pays the bills. Because I had the flight manifest for the Challenger jet. That's Justin Trudeau's private jet. And I don't fault him for flying on the Challenger, by the way. He's a world leader. Like, he's got specific security concerns. But be frugal about it, like Stephen Harper was. And it was the flight manifest for the travel over to the King's coronation in May. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Sophie and the kids aren't on there. They weren't on the flight with him. But they were at the coronation, meaning they flew commercial first class. The kids and her flew commercial first class to the coronation, where they got together for the photo ops. And then she and the kids also flew commercial first class home while he flew on the Challenger. And I was like, when I read this, I was like, maybe their schedules didn't line up, whatever. But I was like, this is atrocious. If your schedule doesn't line up, make it line up. Quit charging us for this stuff. You have a jet. Get on the jet together, right? But then when I dug down, and take for this what you will, but the nanny was on the flight with Justin Trudeau, but the kids were on the commercial flight with her. And like, I'm not making allegations about anything.
No, but do we have a picture of the nanny?
Weird.
I feel like we
Sarah
need a picture of the nanny. I don't know who that is.
She's young and wholesome.
Oh, of course, of course.
Yeah. So anyways, I'm not saying that there's anything going on there. I don't
No.
know Sarah Clark, and again, it must not be I mean, you really have to be a certain sort of patient person to work for the Trudeau family for sure.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but I do know that she was on that flight home on the Challenger from the UK with no children to nanny on that flight. So
Hmm.
it's just a thing
Well,
I
let's
read
just,
about.
wow, that is some good little tea you got there.
I had no idea what it was. I was just sort of mad because they're wasting my money, but I didn't know what to do with it. And then as like the news broke yesterday, I was like,
You're like,
hot damn.
oh,
I knew this is why. This has been
yeah,
I think it's been going on for years, but I mean that was like a thing that I could tangibly prove
right.
that they were
But
traveling together and their life was a photo op.
but if you put it out, it would have still probably come across as speculative. So better to wait, I guess. Now you're like,
I
look,
guess.
I guess.
Yeah. Look, real
Oh,
journalism. Try it.
yeah. All right.
Let's go into this tweet from Laura Love, whom
Mhm.
I can't open this tweet in the list because she has me blocked for some reason. I don't
Oh,
know.
I don't
I
think
don't
I'm
recall.
blocked. I can
I don't
open
recall
it.
doing something to her.
All right.
um, who is she, by the way?
Let's
I
see
don't know
what
who
her
she is.
bio says. She says she's a mom, wife, a cyber criminologist, SFU alumni, and an independent journalism with Sky Talk speakers.
Uh,
She's got a lot
an
going on in
OG
her bio.
cypherpunk. There's a lot of words that
Mhm.
I don't know what those actually mean. But anyway, she's got me blocked for some reason. I can see how we would be incompatible with each other. I don't know if we would be friends in real life, but I don't recall ever actually doing anything to this woman. I think I'm on a list somewhere where they're like, "Oh, that's a mean conservative lady." Block, 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 block. I think I'm on
Get
a
the
list.
like, do they really think we can't just, or we don't just have other accounts to look at it? Like, I
Yeah,
don't get the
totally
blocking
have.
thing. I
I
don't block
totally have a
anybody
troll
because,
account.
of course, we would do. We're journalists. Like, whenever they block me, I'm like, okay, oh, I'm so sad. Like, ow. Like, it's so
No,
strange.
I totally have a troll account. You can't
Of
hide from me.
course.
I'm gonna see what you're saying.
I
But also
know.
I don't block people either.
No.
I I mute them. So they have the misfortune of seeing everything I say, but also knowing that I don't care.
Okay, the only
So
person I had never muted anybody until recently, and it's Rachel Gilmore. And it's only like I'm not following the chick, but Twitter is always showing me her stuff. So I'm like, you know what? Mute. But
I like when
yeah,
they have when they're forced to scream into the ether and know that I can't hear them because I just care so little.
yeah, exactly. All
Anyway,
right,
so
so
we bring up Laura Love's tweet.
her
Yeah,
tweet,
please
yeah.
go ahead.
So I'm going to say Sophie because I can't pronounce that. So it says Sophie Trudeau, a former television presenter, has been a prominent presence at Trudeau's side throughout this political career and became a public figure. Okay, sorry, I messed this up because I should read that Laura Love is saying at the beginning. She's saying CBC is out to lunch. They really are the state stenographers when they write whitewash like this. And so she is quoting from the CBC saying Sophie Trudeau, a former television presenter, has been a prominent presence at Trudeau's side throughout his political career and became a public figure in her town, right as an advocate for several charitable and social causes, including mental health and gender equality. So they're really, really, really up putting her up there. Now you're saying you wouldn't get along with Laura Love, but
But it
she's
sounds
kind of
like we
calling out the
might.
CBC. Yeah, time to unblock. And then she shares
I
that the BBC did a little bit more of an honest take about her, in quotations, charitable work.
Let's
Thank you.
click on that
Yeah,
if you wouldn't mind. Let's open that up. The wee charity scandal.
of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you by the way, you know when she got COVID? She was at a wee event. Uh
Mm.
and now she didn't take any money to be at the wee event, but she got payment in kind. She got a first class trip to London to speak at the wee day event with a
Mhm.
bunch of celebrities hobnobbing, all expenses paid, and all she had to do was show up. And I don't know what she does at these things. I can't imagine that young people are like, "Ooh, I wonder what Sophie Trudeau has to say." Like, or when Justin
Yeah.
Trudeau trots out his mother at these We Day events and they pay her like tens of thousands of dollars to give a 20-minute speech, and I'm like, the youth of the world are really just dying to hear from Margaret
Yeah.
Trudeau. like, like really.
Exactly.
But yeah, they didn't pay her for that, but she went to speak and they're like, oh, she spoke for free. And it's like, well, I don't know, that was free. I think that's payment in kind with
Yeah.
your free vacation to London, wherein you
Yeah.
got COVID and brought it back to Canada as super spreader number one. That's a clip from something we call Rebel News Daily. It's our daily live stream hosted by my friend David Menzies, but the show also includes a rotating cast of hosts and special guests, including me. It's a great way for us to talk about the news of the day as the news is happening in an unscripted fashion, and it's an awesome way for you to interact with us as well. We stream every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Mountain, wherever you find Rebel News. See you there.